get it. So ultimately, at the end of the day, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
What am I hoping to what?
What are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Well, I do feel like there's a hopefulness to it, and there's an energy about it that I certainly was in when I wrote it, that I felt like I wanted to communicate, of just joy and hopefulness, and also kind of a connection and an inspiration. So, um, I there's the Rick Rubin, who's the famous producer. He's kind of a rock producer, wrote this
Hmm.
great book recently. So I kind of followed a lot of his guidelines of just make an album that you feel moved by. I still put it on, and I hear a lot of my friends say, "Man, I just put out an album and then I never listened to it again." And I super appreciate that. Um, I think I heard that about Miles, um, that he never went back and listened to Kind of Blue, and which I think is astonishing
Yeah.
and amazing. But that's not what I wanted to do with this. I wanted to have a repeated listening thing, and something that people could put on and grab a mood from it and feel inspired and left hopeful after it. So, and also not really like, um, check out this odd meter thing, more just like it's just evoking a sense of mystery and takes people out of their daily mental constructs. And so I feel like it does it for me. So like I'll listen to it and I'll be like, yeah, I'm happy and inspired. So
It's almost like a mysterious serum. It's like Kind of Blue was the first album I ever listened to, and it was this
mm,
feeling, it was this mode. I'd never heard anything like that before. And I'm still, it's weird to say I'm old school because I listen to CDs when I'm driving around in the car, but we're getting to
that's
that
great.
point in our history, right? So
Right.
I get a lot of CDs being a jazz radio guy, and I remember keeping yours in specifically. There's CDs where I just won't let them out. I will let them go and go and
Oh,
go.
cool.
And
Yeah.
my son's a big fan, so he's always in the car with me. So we're churning through the jazz. But I remember that there was just a good feeling, um and I think that's kind of where I go with jazz. There's this visceral harmony that I tap into. And I'm not a musician. It's like of all the things that are mysterious in life, I delve into a lot of them, but I don't want to do it with music. I don't want to know how to do it. I want to just feel it,
Man,
right?
that's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
I mean, me too. I almost want to strip away everything and then find out exactly what you just said, what that is that makes music move people, and just create that.
Yeah. It's almost like walking by somebody that's having a conversation in a language that I don't know. And I get to inspect and really delve into their nonverbals because most of our communication are nonverbals, you know?
Right.
So when you can do that, it's almost like that mystery of music. I don't have to know the language, but I feel by what they're saying what they want. Do they want a cup of coffee? Are they aggravated? Are they really happy? Like I get it.
Right, right. Man,
So
that's beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. So take me back to your beginnings. I know that you had stints at Berkeley and then you went to San Francisco, but get me back to the beginnings of this um, music journey for you and more specifically jazz. How did it begin and evolve?
Yeah, definitely a little weird, little maybe more outside of the box than most folks. I played rock guitar in high school. I had like a Steve Vai gem guitar, pink, and I was playing all like Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and Rush, and so the Berkeley stint was actually a summer program that I went to. I went twice actually. In my junior and senior year was for 5 weeks, um, and I mean, um, I almost don't think of that as musical. Like I don't remember anything musical about it. I just remember a suburban kid being dropped into the middle of Boston for 5 weeks, just like, oh, holy mackerel, this is crazy. Just exposed to a different culture. So, um, but I guess what I did see was just the level was bonkers. So, I didn't really have that kind of reflection back in Denver. I grew up in Denver. And then I started to play bass when I was in high school. Like a lot of people, we had 24 guitarists. Somebody had to play bass to just play in the jazz band. So I started doing that, and went to North Texas for a year. So I started to play bass at the end of high school, electric bass. Uh, Went to North Texas, really didn't dig it, just wasn't for me. I was kind of looking, kind of like what we talked about earlier. I was more like, what's the nature of music, man? Like,
Yeah.
what moves it? How is it connected to the stars? I was all about that. So it that kind of level of just churning folks out, which is great. I almost think I would appreciate it more now, but back then it wasn't for me. So um, I moved to San Francisco, still playing electric bass, and really started to get into Charlie Hayden and that sound. Bought my first upright bass when I was 19 or 20, maybe, in San Francisco. Started studying around there. I did take some lessons from Chris Wood in high school. He was of Medeski, Martin, and Wood. I was playing guitar, and he would just teach me music theory, and I'd get to hang out again with somebody who was just, you know, he was 17 and doing what he's doing now, at an unbelievable level. So that was very cool just to see the process and the dedication and the creativity. And, I remember him making me a mixtape that had a lot of Charlie Hayden on it and Mingus. And um, so, so I really was kind of a late bloomer, practiced a lot for a couple years. And then life took me to Wisconsin, just, almost more of a spiritual quest. Put the bass away for a while, put music away for a while. Had some great just life experiences, and then really felt like I just need to keep playing. So moved to Madison, which is kind of a really lovely little community going on in the Midwest here between Chicago and Milwaukee uh, and Minnesota as well, and Madison. So it's just this just kind of Midwest sound that I've felt really attracted to, and fell in with some players from all those areas, and just a really nice community structure here. And of course, great bass playing legacy here in Madison with Richard Davis and his foundation that he set up, and everybody that he's played with. So it's pretty stacked full of really great musicians, and punches above its weight for sure.
So,
So,
what was the first live show you saw that really blew you away, that made you think that's what I want to do with my life?
well, it was, the earliest show I can remember was John Denver, and it was like, and it was at Red Rocks.
Wow.
It was just like, man, this is the shit.
Yeah.
So it was probably that, but then, really honestly, it was like Kiss and Van Halen. I remember those two shows, and it was just the feeling of rocking out on stage. And I think Peter Gabriel probably cemented it. I saw that show, and it was just seeing the massive effect that music can have on an audience was just, you know, it was surreal.
Yeah.
So that was probably the first one. Peter
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel was probably the one where I went, okay, let's go.
Yeah. He's
Let's
good,
try
man.
to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, you've been at this for a while. What do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up and motivated every day?
I I I'm not sure what it is, in the sense that it's just something that now seems to be like I wake up and I hear melodies and I feel inspired, and I don't know what that is. It's not something that I can control. It's not something that's uh, I I do act on it, and so from acting on it, I feel like that keeps me like, okay, there's something to figure out on the bass. There's something to figure out musically. There's a melody to write. Um, so that's kind of what keeps me going. So I don't know if it's something ethereal, that abstract, that you can't quite put your finger on, but it's something internal that just keeps speaking to me, and it's almost like prodding me. It's a feeling of like, you know you keep doing this. So, and of course all the fringe benefits, like free drinks. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just the relationships, are beautiful, and there's a really lovely community sense of things and a camaraderie that I certainly appreciate. Um, but yeah, it's just that daily. I wake up, I hear melodies. I'll listen to a piece of music and I'm moved, and it's like I want to figure that out. I want to be a part of that. So,
So why do you love this art form we call jazz?
well, I uh, I don't love it specifically. Um, I just love music, and jazz has been a big part of it. Um, I Yeah, and even like, as you probably noticed, I don't even know if I would consider this last album jazz in that sense. I'm even confused about what jazz means because it means so many things to different people. So I guess uh, I love improvised music. I love people being able to express themselves freely in the moment. And so, and certainly um, the Black American experience and all the music that came out of that um, was deeply moving to me. Especially kind of later on, is sort of like I found it backwards. It was sort of like Led Zeppelin and then Motown and soul and James Jamerson and then starting to go back and Miles Davis and just finding all of those things. So and then Charlie Hayden, and yeah, just falling in love with the bass and this this idea of swing was really really beautiful. And uh, but I can equally say that I love the Foo Fighters and Peter Gabriel, and it's just a big conglomeration of music that I love. You know.
So I'm curious, you mentioned some heavy people that you've seen live, but if you could get into a time machine and go back and see one show, where are you going?
Well, the first thing that popped in my head was the 64 concerts of Miles. Um, that was the first thing that popped in. Like if
Yeah,
I really thought about it, maybe I'd find something else that I'd really love to see. But I mean that would have been incredible
yeah.
with Wayne. It's probably a very typical answer.
No.
I don't feel very like yeah, like I'm digging too deep with that one. But I mean, that just feels like, it's kind of like that feels like if an alien came here and wanted to know about improvised music and like just the just a level of art that's happening in the moment that defines the human experience. I can't think of anything better right now that I'd want to see.
Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
number one answer to that question is always John Coltrane. And just the other day, somebody told me they saw Coltrane. I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, I couldn't even process what was going on. I wasn't even really, they weren't really entrenched in the whole jazz mindset. So they were just like,
Right.
what is this? Which I can
Right.
imagine if an alien came down and heard Coltrane, they'd be like, wait, what is that?
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
time, you know? So,
Yeah, I heard that. I heard somebody recently too. I can't. I wish I could remember who it was who actually heard Coltrane. And I was like, wow.
and it doesn't
Uh,
happen that often. I mean, I hear
yeah.
people that have seen Miles and all kinds of people and even played with these guys, but it's very rare. Probably the best Coltrane story I ever heard was from the great Terry Gibbs, the vibes player. And he's getting up there now, but he was telling me a story of being on the road with Coltrane and literally watched Alice sit because she was really shy in the back of the club, just falling in love with John. And it was just like, wow, that's
Wow.
crazy. You know,
Wow.
you talk
Saw
about
that
the
whole history happen. Yeah,
that's
that
it,
was
man. Like the
right.
apex of a true jazz romance,
Wow.
and yeah. So, um, but at the end of the day, I'm curious. Everyone has this perception of you, family, friends, fans, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, well, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, like I feel like I would like to be I feel like I'd like to be known as someone who um, felt like when they played with me, the music was honest and fun and authentic, you know. So, and that I brought people together, and that there was a vibe of an uplifting vibe. So, I hope I'm a bridge for that. I hope that you know, that hanging around with me brings people peace, you know. Again, I don't know if I'm necessarily that special in that trait, but I think that that's more important than like, man, our music was off the cuff and it was super progressive and we hit places that music's never happened before. You know, it's like I less and less caring about that and more that there's a camaraderie and a feeling of love that emanates from the stage and connection. You know, so I hope to be known. I don't think I'm always successful at it, but I hope to be known that you know, I'm a bit of a glue, a figure, you know, glue.
Absolutely. So the latest album, Soft Rock, um, it is the newest album. If anyone wants to pick it up in earnest, in the proper way, or catch you live, any of the good news in your world, where do they go?
Yeah, they can go to johnchristensenmusic.com always, and of course all of the socials. And I think Bandcamp is a great place to find the album and to just check in.
Cool. This has been great, John. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your
Thank you,
story.
Joe. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, it was great. And before we